And it was one of the most horrific decisions for me because it meant when I needed pads, tampons, shampoo, I had to ask permission for money to be deposited. And I wrote about...
To the world, she looked like the woman who had it all. A powerful husband, a beautiful family, and a life surrounded by fame and success. But behind the cameras, behind the smiles, there was a story very few people knew. In her powerful memoir, Falling Forward, Rachel Kolisi finally opens up about the emotional struggles she faced while living in the shadow of one of South Africa's biggest sports heroes. And some of the things she reveals may surprise you. Most people know Rachel Kolisi as the wife of Springbok captain Siya Kolisi, the man who led the South Africa national rugby union team to historic victories and became a symbol of hope for millions. But Rachel's story is much deeper than the public image many people see. While the world celebrated rugby triumphs and national pride, Rachel was quietly facing battles of her own. Battles that were invisible to the public eye. Being married to a global sports icon comes with enormous pressure. Suddenly, Rachel's life was no longer private. Everything she did was being watched. Her photos, her opinions, her parenting, even her personal life became topics of public discussion. And over time, Rachel says she began to feel something many people would never expect. She began to feel lost. Instead of being known for who she was constantly introduced as Siya Kolisi's wife. For many people, that title may sound like an honor. But for Rachel, it slowly became something much heavier. It made her question something deeply personal. Who was she, outside of that identity? In her book, Rachel reveals that there were moments when the pressure became overwhelming. Living under the spotlight meant that even the smallest moments of life were exposed to public judgment. And behind the scenes, Rachel says she sometimes struggled with emotional exhaustion. Trying to support her husband's demanding career, trying to raise a family, trying to meet the expectations of a public that often saw only the glamorous side of her life. But inside, Rachel says she was dealing with doubts, insecurities, and the painful feeling that she had lost her own voice. At certain moments, Rachel describes feeling completely overwhelmed. Moments where she had to confront difficult questions about her life, her identity, and her purpose. Those were the moments when everything began to change. Because sometimes, before a person can rebuild their life, they first have to break. Instead of allowing those struggles to define her, Rachel decided to take a different path. She began a journey of self-discovery. Through faith, reflection, and personal growth, she slowly started to rebuild herself. She realized that her story mattered too, not just as the wife of a famous athlete.
I think we've all got the ability to be resilient. And we've all just, every single day, we all wake up with choices that we're allowed to make, that we're in control of. And how we choose to use those really lands us up in a really healthy, whole space, or in a really dangerous, unhealthy place. And I've done unhealthy. I've done unhealthy for too long. I have made unhealthy decisions. I have sacrificed myself, my mental health, my emotional health, my physical health. I've sacrificed for too long. And I don't want to do that anymore. And so I've chosen to take the longer, harder healing road. And I don't know what it spits out at the end of it, but I'm more excited for that woman at the end of this journey than I am for the alternative. So yeah, I'm happy to put in the hard work and make hard decisions now because I know that, I know the result is going to be good. I think we've...
But as a woman with her own voice, her own purpose, and her own strength, Rachel also became deeply involved in helping communities and supporting people who were struggling. For her, giving back became part of her healing, and through that process, she discovered something powerful. Rachel's memoir is not just about pain, it's about resilience. It's about understanding that life does not always go the way we expect. And sometimes the hardest moments in our lives can lead to the greatest growth. Her story is a reminder that even the people who seem the strongest, even the people whose lives look perfect from the outside, are fighting battles we may never see. Rachel Kolisi's story is ultimately a story of courage, the courage to be honest, the courage to face pain, and the courage to start again, because in the end, strength is not about never falling. It's about finding the courage to rise again. And as Rachel says in her book, sometimes the only way forward is to fall forward. What do you think about Rachel Kolisi's book? Is this what you expected from her book? Is the content in her book what you hoped to read? Do you feel there might be information she left out that would have been interesting to know? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next trending story.